Então, nesse painel, a gente vai falar com a Rachel Lippincott. E a Alison Derrick. Primeiramente, gente, bem-vindas. Espero que vocês estejam gostando do Brasil. Estão conseguindo ouvir direito?
Absolutely. Oi, gente, tudo bem? Yeah, really enjoying Brazil.
Antes de tudo, eu queria dar um aviso para vocês. No final, a gente vai receber perguntas do público e o pessoal que está de laranja está com um papelzinho para vocês perguntarem. Então, se vocês quiserem, é só levantar a mão para fazer as perguntas que eu vou receber depois, tá bem? Então, eu vou começar aqui. Então, a gente não tem como não começar falando sobre Ela Fica com a Garota. No livro, a Alex e a Molly se conhecem numa festa da faculdade e depois se aproximam porque a Alex se oferece para ajudar a Molly a ficar com a garota que ela gosta. Vocês sempre falam que o livro é praticamente a história de vocês. O que é ficção e o que é realidade nesse livro?
Well,
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing, like the main structure, Rachel and I were like friends first, and I was like really into this other girl, and I also was like had never dated anyone ever, and was just a little clueless in that area, and Rachel really like stepped in and to help like speed up the process.
yeah, so I would say that the first draft was very close to our love story. It was really writing it down exactly as it happened. Allison always phrases it as it was like writing love letters back and forth to each other, which I think is really beautiful because that's what it felt like. And then I think with every draft after that, it became Alex and Molly's story, but the root is still there, the experience of us being friends and me helping her get this girl that she was into and then us falling in love instead.
E acabou melhor a história, né?
Definitely. Would have been really upsetting if it happened the other way.
Pois é. Rachel, não é a sua primeira vez escrevendo em coautoria, mas como é escrever com a sua esposa? O processo de escrita foi diferente?
Yes, it was definitely different. I think with Allison, it was just such a intimate, collaborative process to work with her. She's my wife, so for that reason alone, you can just be at your kitchen table at 3 a.m, kind of working on an idea together and laughing over how absurd it is. So there's just something really special about that, getting to kind of work with her and come up with these ideas.
E para você, Alison, foi legal, foi diferente o processo de escrever com alguém? Você já tinha escrito antes?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I co-wrote with Rachel before I ever wrote anything solo, and she's the first person I've ever co-wrote with. But I agree. Like, it was incredible, like writing a book with my wife. I've honestly never been like great with like group projects and like working with other people, just because like I'm pretty introverted and I always kind of struggle with that kind of thing. But so I'm not sure I could imagine doing it with someone else. But doing it with Rachel is like the best, and I think always much rather write a book with Rachel than by myself.
I agree.
E como que foi esse processo? Vocês definiram a estrutura antes? Vocês trocavam os capítulos, iam escrevendo alternada? Como que funcionava?
Yeah, I think we kind of did. I think we're both pretty big on outlining the story, so I think that was really helped the process along, just kind of figuring out whose chapters were whose, which felt more like Alex and which felt more like Molly, and kind of writing based on that experience.
Yeah, I think we had to like really outline the structure to make sure we knew where everything was going, and then there was a lot of like corrections made along the way, just like even little stuff like outfits or apartment names or whatever, just small stuff that you had to like line up because it just wouldn't match chapter to chapter.
E recentemente vocês duas lançaram um livro solo. A Alison escreveu Lembre-se de Nós e Rachel está lançando Orgulho e Preconceito e Nós Duas aqui na Bienal. Como é sair de um processo de coautoria e voltar a escrever um livro sozinha? Vocês sentem falta da parceria? Gostam mais de escrever sozinha?
I think it's definitely different. I mean, I totally agree with Allison. I think I do really like working with her more, just because it's just really nice being able to, on like the same time frame. You know, you get to work on the story together, which is so incredible. But you also get to do more events together, which is also really exciting. And then also now that we have a little baby, Poppy, it's nice to be on like the same revision or editing schedule, you know, so you get to do everything at the same time, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. But I feel like on the flip side too, like writing solo, it's definitely nice to be able to just completely make your own artistic decisions. There's just a lot of freedom there, and in the writing process, I think, you know, that can be important sometimes.
Absolutely. It's nice to kind of be in charge of your own story too.
Vocês ficavam opinando sobre o capítulo uma da outra, falando assim, não, acho que a história não precisa seguir por essa direção, podia ser por outro caminho.
Yeah, I actually think it kind of did. I feel like a lot of times it was maybe even more just like certain things that Alex and Molly would do that didn't feel like it matched their character more often than not. Like it would just be like, you know, Alex would never say that or Molly would never do that. And you would kind of have to change the story based on this perspective that was right. You're not writing their character. So and that was definitely something that changed.
Yeah, and also like I feel like there were definitely times where like we sort of had to rein each other in. I'm just thinking about that roller skating scene where like, I don't know, I just had it in my mind that Molly had to do this like just like ridiculous like spin stop. I was like describing it in great detail to Rachel and she was like, you need to chill. She's not going to do like a triple spin stop in this book.
Just after Alex had fallen. So like Alex is on the ground and she wanted like Molly to just like do this like incredible skating move. It was just ridiculous, but yeah.
E quando vocês estão escrevendo sozinhas, vocês trocam, leem a história uma da outra enquanto estão escrevendo ou só quando termina?
Yeah, absolutely. We're both each other's like biggest workshop partners, and it's just nice, you know, by the time you get to the end of writing a first draft, it's like, even if it's really good, it's so easy to just think like, this is probably trash, and you're about to hand it into your editor. So just having someone read it and say, it's actually like not bad, or like tell you little things you need to fix, like it's just like really good for like sanity.
Yeah, I know when I give something to Allison to read, she'll give me an honest opinion on it, which is what you really need. You don't want somebody to sugarcoat it. You want them to be like, this is trash, you know, especially before I send it into my editor. And yeah, I feel like with writing, like Allison was saying, when you're writing that first draft or you're writing a story, it's like in a vacuum, you know, like you read the same chapters hundreds and hundreds of times and you're like, I think it's good, but it might not be good. So that's always so helpful. She's like my number one critique.
Mas vocês conseguem fazer isso? Olhar uma para outra e falar assim, isso aqui não tá legal, não tá muito bom.
Allison is so bluntly honest. It's painful sometimes, but
You have
I know I'm getting the truth.
Yeah, like you don't want a workshop partner that's going to lie to you like that. I mean, what's the point of having a workshop partner, right? So, you know, sometimes
Demoralizing.
some feelings get hurt, but
E agora vocês têm a Pop. Como que é escrever depois do nascimento dela, tendo um bebê, né, de agora 1 ano na vida de vocês?
It's definitely different. I feel like my entire writing schedule has kind of shifted just because I want to spend time with her. It's as simple as that. So I feel like now I write a lot of times at night. Prior to that, I was more of like a morning writer, going out to coffee shops, and now it's like Poppy goes to bed and I write until bedtime. So yeah, I feel like everything's changed, and then also just my perspective on life, what's most important now. It's obviously like her. So everything, like the weight of everything has changed, and so has my writing schedule.
yeah, Rachel has definitely like moved into like motherhood and writing like much smoother than I have. It's just like I don't know how because she edited Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh like every draft after Poppy was born, and it was like she edited the whole book like 3 times, and then it always felt like she was there for me and Poppy too. And I just like have had a lot of trouble like getting my head, into like the books I'm working on and stuff. So, like, kudos.
Thank you. Someone's got to pay the bills, no?
Ela deve ter aprendido a voltar no tempo, igual no novo livro. Para fazer tudo. Bom, a gente vai voltar um pouquinho no tempo aqui também, para trazer uma certa polêmica. Rachel, antes de lançar a Lista da Sorte, você foi coautora de A 5 Passos de Você e todo esse tempo. Por que você começou a escrever romances hétero antes de escrever romances entre garotas?
No.
Desculpa.
No. I feel like it was, with 5 Feet Apart, it was really an instance of, it was an adaptation, and very much with All This Time, too, it was a collaborative experience with, a couple screenplay writers to help bring this vision to life. With 5 Feet Apart, it was to raise awareness about cystic fibrosis, and with All This Time, it was because I formed a really great relationship with Mickey Daughtry, who was one of the screenplay writers, and this was her heart story. It was the story that she really wanted to tell, so it meant a lot to me to be able to help her put that on a page and out into the world. And then, with the Lucky List onward, it was just like, it's time for the gay stuff, you know what I mean? So,
Ainda bem.
it's all me now, you know what I mean? So.
Aqui no Brasil, a gente ainda vê a literatura sáfica engatinhando em grandes editoras. Como é isso para vocês lá nos Estados Unidos? A gente sabe que nos últimos tempos tem rolado uma onda muito grande de censura por lá. Vocês podem explicar um pouquinho aqui para a gente, para quem não está sabendo, sobre esse movimento, tudo o que tem acontecido, e se vocês sentem que isso afeta o alcance do livro de vocês?
Yes, that's a really good question. It's so frustrating because I know we talk about this often, and I've heard similar experiences here where it took so long to find sapphic love stories or just LGBTQ plus love stories, or just any stories. I remember reading, going to Barnes & Noble, a local bookstore where I am, and just searching the shelves for one sapphic story. And I was 14, just looking for the Lucky List, kind of, you know what I mean? And so it's so upsetting that now we're seeing so many of these stories, and there are these instances where these book bans are happening in the States, where they're being taken out of libraries, they're being taken out of schools, and kids don't have access to them anymore. These stories that could really be so transformative that they can see themselves in, they just aren't able to have access to, because the adults are taking away from them. And it's so hurtful and so senseless, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, that these stories are no longer accessible to so many people in the States. And I feel like I'm still so excited to write these stories, and still so excited to get them into the hands of these readers. And I know a ton of authors in the States, and our publishers and all of that are still so excited about these stories, and are going to fight, the book bans, and are going to fight to get the readers the books that they want to see. So
Yeah, so I didn't discover my sexuality until I was 21, which is fairly late in life, I think, especially for now. And when I was growing up, we just didn't have those books because they weren't being written. And I had a book like The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which was the first sapphic book I read. It would have changed my life, because I'm sure a lot of people here know what it's like to live, not knowing your sexuality. And it's just frustrating because these books are available now, and they're trying to stop kids from getting their hands on them. I don't get it.
Nem a gente. Eu super entendo, porque eu também demorei muito para me assumir. Só fui me assumir com quase 25 anos, quando eu lancei meu primeiro livro. Então, por mais que a gente não tenha aqui um movimento de censura explícito, essa censura acontece em muitos momentos, nas escolas que não querem levar livros com diversidade para os alunos, nas bibliotecas que não deixam, para os pais que brigam com as escolas quando esses livros estão lá. Então, é muito difícil para a gente, e a gente vê esse espaço aqui lotado, é uma prova de que a gente está tentando muito mudar esse caminho, e acho que a literatura é uma forma muito potente de fazer isso, né? Como que vocês enxergam isso no trabalho de vocês, no que vocês fazem, tanto nos livros, mas fora dele também, no TikTok, que vocês têm uma presença muito forte?
I think it is so difficult, and you do, especially, I feel like especially on social media, especially on TikTok, you do get so many people that will go out of their way to intentionally try to silence your voice, which is so hurtful and so disappointing. And I feel like the biggest way is that we can just do that is kind of by continuing to write these stories for us personally. I mean, it's to continue to write these stories, continuing to just show publicly, we are a very happily married couple. We have a baby. We are writing these stories. And I know growing up, both me and Allison, I think being able to see just that would have just done a lot. And so, we're obviously doing that. But then at the same time, we're fighting the book bans. We're signing petitions. Our publishing houses are as well. So every single day, it's just living your life and being proud of it and being excited to keep telling these stories and hoping that day by day it'll get better.
Vamos animar um pouquinho o papo, né? Ainda falando do TikTok, como que surgiu a ideia para vocês de fazer o conteúdo, de postar lá com vocês falando sobre livros?
I think it kind of started, I was on TikTok a lot. I feel like we all were kind of during the pandemic, just watching a bunch of videos and a bunch of stuff. And it was actually our publishing house, I think, when I was making content for the Lucky List, they were like, have you ever thought about making a TikTok? And I was like, not really. And then I kind of was thinking, and I was like, the only way I would want to make a TikTok is kind of if it was with Allison. And so we just kind of sat down and started putting up content, and we did some book recommendation videos and just videos kind of showing our life, and videos kind of helping to show off our stories and our books, and also just the sapphic experience of being married. And I feel like it was just really cool to see it take off.
Yeah.
Se é para pagar mico, é melhor fazer junto, né?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like we quickly discovered that, the videos people want to see aren't we made that cute little, we went to that treehouse thing. And we found out very quickly that they much prefer just 3-second videos about us reading fanfic and eating potato chips.
Totally, you spend all this time to make something so pretty and aesthetic, and people are not interested, and then you do one that's humorous, and people are way more entertained.
Yeah. A Bienal é um evento que reúne muitos autores brasileiros. E uma coisa muito comum de a gente fazer por aqui é ir para o stand da nossa editora e abordar os leitores que estão passando para fazer um pitch dos nossos livros e tentar convencer eles a comprarem. Como vocês estão com o lançamento aqui na Bienal, e acredito que muitos leitores aqui talvez ainda não tenham conseguido ler os novos livros de vocês, eu queria propor uma brincadeira. Se vocês estivessem agora lá no stand da Alt, tentando vender o livro novo de vocês, como seria esse pitch?
I would say, no, I would honestly say that, well, if I'm trying to sell Forget-Me-Not, that it hopefully will truly break your heart and then put it back together.
It's really good. I feel like for Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh, it's just, if you're looking for an entertaining sapphic rom-com about a girl getting sent 200 years back in time to Regency England and falling in love with the last person she expected, that's the book. I saw somebody comment on Goodreads or something, and they said something it's not a masterpiece, but it sure is entertaining. So there we go. Enjoy.
E Rachel, como é que foi escrever esse livro com viagem no tempo, trazer essa mistura do passado e do presente para você na sua escrita?
It was a lot of fun. I feel like, prior to this, I'd only written contemporary romance, so it was really exciting to kind of also dip my toe into historical fiction while still having that safety net of Audrey's character and that voice that I felt really comfortable writing in. But it was really cool. I mean, like, Pride and Prejudice, the book and the movie are so incredible and so great to watch and so cinematic. And I've always been really into history, so it was really cool to kind of get to do that with a bit of a sapphic twist. It felt really nice.
E como que é o processo de escrita de vocês? Vocês têm horário para escrever? Vocês planejam tudo antes? Eu sei que eu perguntei um pouquinho quando vocês estavam escrevendo juntas, mas é o mesmo processo quando vocês estão escrevendo sozinhas? Vocês fazem todo um planejamento da história e vão escrevendo? Ou a história flui para vocês?
I always start with an outline. I just have to know where everything's going. And then I feel like I really move by chapter. Like I know some people do word count or like they put so many hours in every day. But I find that just moving chapter by chapter works best for me. So I'll spend like 2 days writing one chapter and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar for me. A lot of times I'll get the idea for a story. It'll just be like individual scenes or just like little moments or character dialogue or something. And I'll spend a lot of time thinking about it before I even write anything. So a lot of times I'll like listen to certain music to kind of get in the headspace or make a playlist or go on Pinterest and, put together an aesthetic. And then I try writing some scenes and then the first few chapters, and if I'm not getting the voice right, I know it's not the right story to tell at the time. So I feel like that's always really big. It's getting the voice, or else the rest of the story is not going to work. And then the same as Allison, I will write an outline after that, and then I'll work off the outline in order to write the finished book. And that really, I feel like especially now with having Poppy, it has to happen that way for efficiency's sake, or else the books wouldn't get done. So.
Já que você falou de playlist, qual você acha que seria a música tema do seu livro novo, de Orgulho e Preconceito, Nós Duas?
I feel like I was really listening to just like the 2005 Pride and Prejudice soundtrack, definitely, like that like classic, beautiful over the field cinematic opening, and then like Your Type by Carly Rae Jepsen was like another one that was on repeat for some reason. I don't know why, but it's a good song.
E você, Alison, para Lembre-se de Nós?
I had a playlist that I actually only listened to it while I was writing the book, and then when I would like send it away for edits, I just like wouldn't listen to any of the songs. Rachel knew the playlist by the time I was done writing the book because it would come on in the car, like one of the songs, and she would just skip it. But it was like 85% Lizzie McAlpine, and then like She by Dodie.
Agora eu queria fazer uma rodada de perguntas rápidas para a gente conhecer vocês. Mas vamos ver o quanto vocês se conhecem. Rachel,
Oh boy.
me diga um artista por quem a Alison está obcecada no momento.
Musical artist?
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like you're really into Phoebe Bridgers. You've had a bit of a Phoebe Bridgers phase lately, yeah. Totally.
I actually feel like it's becoming a problem because I'm like singing the saddest music to Poppy when I'm putting her to sleep. Like, why am I singing her funeral right now?
I have noticed that she'll be putting Poppy to bed singing like funeral, and I'll just be like, can we not just have the worst dreams?
E Alison, um artista que a Rachel está obcecada no momento.
I'm not going to say Phoebe Bridgers again.
Don't repeat my answer.
I feel like that is like all we listen to though. It's like Phoebe Bridgers. Yeah.
Or Boy Genius. I feel like I've been.
Yeah.
Alison, o último livro que a Rachel leu e amou.
the name of it. It's not even out yet, right? But Toshi's book.
Oh no, my brain is like failing me. We are, nope, but
Well,
yes.
What's Toshi's last name?
Tashi Buyan has a book coming out next year, and it's so good. I really loved it. I just read it to write a blurb for it, but it was so good. It was just a really great story. It's like this girl, and she kind of ends up helping this band on their way to stardom after she kind of makes a bit of a mistake early in the start of the story, but really good. Yeah.
E o último livro que a Alison leu e amou.
Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh.
Ah, não vale.
I was gonna say good luck. Just because. Well, I don't know. Can you like name one before that I really liked?
Tender is the Flesh?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Rachel, você sabe o top 3 filmes favoritos da Alison?
Oh, no. Ready or Not?
No, yeah. Like, that's, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Captain Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm making the list as I talk.
You're just reminding me of all my favorite movies.
And Booksmart.
Rage.
Don't give me that. Oh, Pride and Prejudice
Yes.
2005. First try.
E Alison, o top 3 filmes da Rachel.
Carol. These are all going to be so gay. Because I'll say, oh, really? Disobedience? Disobedience? Let's think. One of them isn't gay.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. What is it?
Minari.
Oh, that was so good. Yeah. Okay.
Ok. Alison, os autores que inspiram a Rachel.
Nina LaCour.
Nina LaCour.
Perfeita.
Alison Derrick.
Devia ter sido a primeira.
That's probably like the top 2, honestly. Maybe like Taylor Jenkins Reid?
You definitely got the top 2. Taylor Jenkins Reid too, but that's, yeah, Nina LaCour is. And Alison Derrick is.
Above Nina.
E os autores que inspiram a Alison?
Probably Emily Danforth. I know you're a huge fan of Miseducation and Cameron Post. I don't know.
Sorry.
I feel like, I don't know if you have any, me?
Yeah, honestly.
Maybe also,
honestly.
as well as me?
Yeah.
And then I think nope, I can't,
Yeah, no.
I feel like those are just
yeah,
maybe,
probably mostly Emily Danforth. Yeah.
yeah, you're such a huge fan of that book. I feel like it's like, you know, number 1 and then like 2 through 10
Yeah.
are just like,
Rachel, qual o livro favorito da vida da Alison?
Miseducation to Cameron Post, yeah.
E o livro favorito da Rachel?
Favorite book. Is it We Are Okay? Okay.
Alison, uma música que a Rachel colocou no repeat e você não aguenta mais ouvir.
What's like some music that I repeat over and over and over again that you don't like to listen to?
I feel like you're going to hate that I'm about to say this.
I know exactly what you're gonna say. And
That's also not like a thing that you, it's at the top of the playlist. I don't know what it's called, but it's Garth Brooks. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay. It's a Garth Brooks song. It's called If Tomorrow Never Comes, and I'm sorry, but every time I listen to it, I think of you and Poppy, and I cry. So, my apologies for listening to a little country music.
Ok, agora é a hora da vingança. Qual a música do repeat da
Oh,
Alison?
man. I might get some hate for this. Might have some fans in the audience. I feel like I'm like you played it so much that I'm a little bit tired of it. And you just started listening to it again recently, but every time you like start playing like the Waitress soundtrack,
Rachel.
I know I'm so sorry. I'm just like, oh, what year is it? Like we've been listening to this for like 4 years, like since the start of our relationship.
How can you get tired of that, though?
I'm sorry.
Desculpa, gente, não quero provocar uma briga entre o casal. E a última pergunta foi uma amiga que mandou fazer. Ela quer saber qual a série favorita de todos os tempos de vocês e por que é Killing Eve.
Yeah. It is.
What?
Is it my-
Oh yeah, Killing Eve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm supposed to. I was like thinking of my favorite series.
Where were you?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, Killing Eve, but the end kind of
I know. I feel like
ruined it for you.
it's painful for that to be my favorite
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Well, tell me mine because I clearly can't think of it.
You really liked. Oh, what's that one with Severance? You really like Severance.
Oh, actually, yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good one. Yeah, that's probably my favorite right now.
Killing Eve, obviously. She doesn't even have to say it. We all know.
Bom, agora eu vou abrir para algumas perguntas que o público fez para vocês. A primeira é da Ana Clara Leal. Ana Clara tá por onde? Ela perguntou: vocês poderiam dizer que a literatura em geral foi um dos grandes motivos para vocês duas se aproximarem?
Yeah, I couldn't hear
Can you
it.
repeat that? Sorry.
Ela quer saber se a literatura foi um dos grandes motivos para vocês duas se aproximarem.
Oh, like writing She Gets the Girl?
A literatura no geral, livros, vocês gostarem de livros, vocês se conheceram na aula de...
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, I guess so. Because, we met in a writing class, and, yeah, never would have met without that. And then, yeah, I feel like writing a book together now is, like, sort of, like, its own intimate experience.
Totally. Yeah, it's full circle kind of in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I would say definitely yes. I think from meeting in a writing class, there was like that knowledge that us being writers was important to the both of us. And then I feel like books have always kind of brought us together kind of in that way, and getting to work on stories together even more so. So it's been something throughout our entire relationship, yeah.
A Luísa Amaral perguntou como foi, quando vocês estavam escrevendo Ela Fica com a Garota, descobrir o ponto de vista uma da outra sobre como a história aconteceu. Como a história de vocês aconteceu, principalmente naquele primeiro rascunho que era muito sobre vocês.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of just like the feel maybe, or what felt right for each individual character and what felt right for us to write, because it was kind of like directly kind of flowering out of like our story and our reality.
Yeah.
Very much.
It definitely gets tricky, though, like, anytime you're writing dual POV, because, you want to add one more scene, but then you have to add another one because each person, has to alternate. So it does get, like, messy and, like, really tricky at times.
Yeah, it really does. It does kind of have that, like, oh, this scene would be so good to add, especially through, like, edits where your editor will be like, oh, it'd be really nice to have, like, this one moment here, but if you add that one moment here, you have to add, like, a second moment, because then it, like, kind of messes up the every other. So...
Maria Costa perguntou como foi para vocês o início da vida de escritora, como vocês se apaixonaram pela escrita e como souberam que era isso que queriam fazer.
Yeah, I feel like I always really loved books growing up. It was reading was my favorite thing, and I remember in like 3rd grade, that was really when I was like, oh, I could like write these stories that I'm so excited about. And so I wrote like Magic Tree House fan fiction, and I feel like it was just like something that I always really loved to do. And when I got to our college, University of Pittsburgh, there was a writing and literature class there, and I was actually set to like do like pre-med. Like I was like kind of on a completely different track, and I sat down in that class, and after like the first class, I was like, I'm done. Like I need to be a writer. At least I need to try to be a writer. And so I feel like that's just something that I've always loved doing, and getting to do it as a career is just like a real dream. It's something I've hoped for my entire life, for sure.
I actually had like a really different experience than Rachel. English was probably my least favorite subject growing up. I didn't read much. I was a really, really slow reader. I still am. So I think that like, turned me off just because it took me so long. And I never had an English teacher like we had in college who, really like encouraged us to write creatively. And she was also just like so cool. And I was just like, maybe wanted to be her a little bit. It's like, I want to do this.
Sounds a little gay, but all right.
Isabel perguntou qual foi o momento mais marcante no processo de escrita do livro que vocês passaram juntas.
I think honestly the most important moment was probably just when we set out writing She Gets the Girl. We weren't even really sure that it was going to work. We weren't sure if our writing styles would be able to blend well together. And so I think maybe the most important or the biggest moment was just kind of like the realization, like, this could actually work. Like, this is a story, it's like working, our POVs are flowing nicely together, and, this could actually become something. And then also it was cool, like, hitting the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah.
That was a real dream come true, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like just like finishing because we had tried to write like a version of this book 3 years before, and we didn't get very far at all, and it just wasn't, we just couldn't like do it. We couldn't write together, and so we just gave up, and then we kind of came back around to it, and it was like kind of immediately like very smooth. And I was nervous because you had written 5 Feet Apart, and I knew how fast you wrote it. And, I knew it was good, and I had never written anything, so I was really nervous about not being able to keep up with Rachel. But it ended up, like, working out really well.
Legal. Fernanda Gomes perguntou, além do livro Ela Fica com a Garota, com quais personagens vocês mais se conectaram?
In our books?
Definitely Stevie in Forget Me Not.
Great character.
Yeah, just like I really wanted to write the experience of a gay Asian American girl living in a small town in Pennsylvania, because that was my experience, and yeah, it was just it was almost like more important for me to write an Asian American character than it was to write a gay character, because it was such a, like, me being Asian was like such a big, like, I guess like kind of like hurdle that I've overcome in my life. Just being like comfortable in my own skin as like an Asian American woman.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I always go back to the Lucky List. I feel like that, because that was really the first book that I kind of got to, write. It was like the book of my heart, kind of. And so I feel like I definitely really liked writing the character of Emily, but I also really fell in love with the character of Blake in that book. And I feel like a lot of it was probably just because I put a lot of Allison's personality into Blake. Just like her positivity and her excitement for life and how inspiring that can be. And I feel like that's probably why Blake's one of my favorite characters I've ever written. Yeah.
Já que a gente falou de Lucky List, de a lista da sorte, como seria a lista de vocês?
I feel like just a couple of things now. I feel like I really want to like travel more. That's like kind of generic, but I want to show like Poppy more places. And we also kind of always talk about like Montana in the States is really beautiful. So we just kind of want to, you know, get a camper van and drive out to Montana with Poppy and just kind of hang out in nature. So I feel like that's really number one, at least on my list, is to do that.
I agree. Like, I would also say, like, buy a camper and just see more of the United States. It's crazy how little of it we've seen, and
Totally,
we live there.
totally.
Helena perguntou: tem alguma outra pessoa com quem vocês diriam que seria um sonho colaborar na escrita?
I feel like, I know what you're going to say.
Oh, really? Well, I'm not really going to say it. I'm going to say what I was going to say. But I when people would ask, like, you know, who's someone you'd want to write with, I'd always say, like, Colleen Hoover, because, like, you know, she gets that bag, and, like, you know, I'm cool with that.
That's hilarious. I feel like the first person that comes to mind is probably Margot Wood. She wrote Fresh, and it's a really great story. It's kind of set in college, and it's about this bisexual character, and kind of like just the messiness of like growing into your own person. And yeah, I feel like that would be a lot of fun to write with Margot, and we're pretty good friends. So.
I actually really would like to write with Nina LaCour. Just, I think she has, like, maybe a really different writing process than most people.
Totally.
I feel like I could learn so much from her.
I could see that, yeah. And also Casey McQuiston, I know they have a really
Que sonho
interesting writing
seria.
process. I mean, who wouldn't? But yeah, I feel like just like really cool writing process, like the scent of the character and like the vibes and the mood boards, and I really like what they do when they write.
Helena também perguntou: agora que vocês têm a Pop, vocês pensam em escrever livros mais adultos ou que tenham essa temática de maternidade também?
Yes. I think, like, even when we're, like, brainstorming new book ideas, I know exactly what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Like, it's almost like now every single time, just completely randomly, we're like kind of brainstorming ideas or coming up with characters, Allison will always just be like, and they're pregnant, or like, and they have like a random 2-year-old, like, and it just like seems like every single time.
She's just so cute. I just want to put her in, like, every single book.
Definitely.
Entendo completamente, apoiaria muito. Até porque é muito difícil ainda encontrar histórias em que a gente traga duas mães, né, casais homoafetivos com filhos, então, para mim, seria lindo.
All right, Allison, we'll write one.
Okay, that's my green light. I'm doing it. Thank you.
Maria perguntou: como vocês se sentem sabendo que impactam a vida de muitas meninas sáficas com suas histórias?
It really is, like, incredible. I feel like when I first started, like, writing She Gets the Girl and Forget Me Not, I just had no idea, really, the impact it would have on a lot of teenagers, and just, like, the messages I get from a lot of, like, young queer girls living in small town America who read Forget Me Not and, you know, found themselves in that book. It means a lot to me, because I feel like when I was in that situation, I felt so alone. It really felt like I was just, like, the only person living that experience. And to have people telling me that they felt the same way and that they found, you know, themselves in this book, and found someone else who, like, went through that and were able to, like, you know, read about that experience. It's like, it really is what keeps me wanting to keep writing these stories.
It genuinely is the absolute best. I think somebody asked us recently, like, what inspires us most to write, and obviously, like, it's you and Poppy, but right up there, and in the same exact tier is the readers. It's the people that message you and are so excited for your stories and can see themselves in their stories. There's truly nothing better, and it means the world when people send us messages and kind of take the time to talk about, how our book impacted them, and it's really the most important and special thing about putting these stories out in the world, for sure.
Eu vejo muitos autores de livros LGBT falando que começaram a escrever porque queriam se enxergar nas histórias. Foi assim que vocês se sentiram? O que motivou vocês a querer escrever?
Yeah, I would say like 100%. Also just, I mean, it is that, but it's also like, I'm a lesbian, and I know what that experience is like, and I like writing about, lesbians. I don't like I don't have much of a want to write like hetero stories, because it just doesn't really do anything for me. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think it's just like the stories you're excited to tell, and the people that pick up that book are excited to read those stories, and I feel like that's definitely it. It's just like, it's simply that. You just want to keep writing these stories that you would have liked to see and hope that it finds the readers that want to read them.
Mas o que motiva vocês a escrever, sabe? Acho que qual foi aquela primeira faísca que fez vocês pensarem, caramba, eu quero fazer isso?
I feel like, obviously, I feel like it comes from a lot of things. I think it's really, like, I really struggle between She Gets the Girl and Pride and Prejudice in Pittsburgh to come up with a story idea, and I had a bunch of false starts, and I actually wrote, like, a good chunk of a book, and then it was almost identical to another story that an author put out this year, and I was like, how is this possible? Like, it's too close. And I feel like it's just, reading other people's stories or watching Killing Eve or, just sapphic love stories and kind of, or just even straight ones, and you're like, this would be better if it wasn't straight. And I feel like just going out in the world and seeing these kind of things and living, and all of a sudden you just kind of get like a spark of an idea. You have a scene in your head and it just like won't leave you alone, and then eventually slowly it turns into more and more of a story. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it was right before we started writing She Gets the Girl. We watched Winona Earp, and like just the feeling that gave me like in my chest, like that like happy like butterfly, like what an incredible love story. It really made me want to like create that feeling for somebody else.
No, that's so true. I feel like I totally understand that, because similarly, I feel like maybe because it was the start of the pandemic, you got really into Winona Earp and I got really into Killing Eve, and it just made me so excited to like tell these sapphic stories, and just like keep putting more and more content out, and it was just it felt so exciting.
Yeah, even now it happens. Like was talking about Phoebe Bridgers, and like there was like one week where I kept trying to play Funeral on guitar, and I was just like, I just like that song like gives me feelings, and I was like, wow, that's so cool that she can do that. And I was like, oh my, like Allison, you can literally do this through like books, and I just think that's so cool.
Agreed.
Gabi Malta perguntou, qual dica vocês dariam para escritoras de sáficos que estão começando agora?
I feel like kind of what we said, which is just like, write what you're excited to write the story that you feel is on your heart to tell. And honestly, like, don't stop until that first draft is on the page. That's always the hardest part, is just sitting down and getting the story out and getting that first draft, really. I feel like that's the biggest thing, because you can spend so long looking at the Word document and so long working on this, but if you don't have like at least a draft to like edit and make a million times better, it can be really frustrating and feel really like hopeless. So definitely that.
Yeah, and also like, make sure you're always writing something you love. Like whatever story you're working on, you should really just like be obsessed with it, because it's probably gonna be like a really long road to finishing it and editing it and getting it published. And I know, like, even now, like, I think we experience pressure to write something that we think will sell. But I think it's important to just, like, you know, stay true to why you got into it and what you're interested in. Yeah.
Gabi também perguntou o que vocês falariam para a sua versão criança sobre ser vocês mesmas na escrita.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really big one. You know, as I said, writing was really my dream, and I also kind of remember just like this particular moment where I kind of had that aha moment that I was like, you know, something was different, and like I wasn't straight, and you know, I feel like I would just kind of want to say like, be true to yourself, be true to your instincts, and really at the end, like, it all works out pretty dang great. So I feel like just that.
Yeah, I feel like kind of same. I mean, probably just tell myself, like, you're gay. There's a reason you are obsessed with your art teacher and your gym teacher. Yeah, and that, like, yeah, one day life is going to be so good.
Eu sei que essa pergunta é muito difícil, mas será que em breve, em algum momento, a gente vai conseguir assistir algum livro de vocês adaptado? Temos notícias, alguma coisa?
Hopefully one day.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
That's like
The dream.
the pinnacle. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I would love to see a She Gets the Girl movie, but you know, Hollywood's on a writer's stroke, so we'll see.
Se vocês pudessem escolher um livro para virar filme, seria Ela Fica com a Garota?
Absolutely.
Totally. Because then we'd both get to, you know, have a book made into a movie. So.
Infelizmente, agora eu vou para a última pergunta, que é: essa é a segunda vez de vocês aqui no Brasil. Como que está sendo essa passagem por aqui? Encontraram muitos leitores? Acho que para a Alison é a primeira vez como autora, né? Então, conta pra gente como está sendo essa experiência.
It's been, like, very interesting. Like, yeah, it's definitely different being here as an author. Just, like, it's so weird just, like, being recognized. Like, I was at the bar at our hotel with my brother, and it's just like the guy a couple stools down is just like, "Are you Allison Derrick?" It's like, how, like, it's such a weird experience, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it's, especially coming here with Poppy, it's so interesting coming here in 2019, and it was just me and Allison, and now it's like so exciting to kind of like get to show her like new foods, and you know, just like an entirely different place is just really cool. But I absolutely always love coming to Brazil. Honestly, the best readers, and I'm not just saying that. You can tell the Americans I say that. You can tell them. It genuinely are just like your excitement for the stories that you read, and your excitement for the books, and it really is just the absolute best. And I'm so grateful for all of you to, you know, be reading my stories from 5 Feet Apart until now, or from the Lucky List until now. And it means the world, for sure.
E o que a gente pode esperar de próximos lançamentos de vocês?
Well,
Yeah, definitely.
for sure, yeah. Plenty of sapphic rom-coms in our future, and you know, we'll see what happens next year.
Rachel, Alison, muito obrigada pela conversa. Foi incrível, uma pena que está acabando, mas vocês vão autografar aqui do lado, não é? Na praça de autógrafos. Então, todo mundo que pegou a senha para o autógrafo pode ir aqui para o lado da direita, para a direita. É. E muito obrigada, foi maravilhoso esse papo.
Thank you, everyone.
Obrigada.
Obrigada.